2 weeks in the hospital and no happened.
There's another explanation.
Oh, what happened? It works.
Independence.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. It's a good turnout tonight, considering the weather and all the rest of it. Hope you're all keeping well. We've got a lot to get through tonight, and we haven't met, and just hiding in the corner somewhere. But it's a real good turnout. Thank you for coming. We've got a lot, as I say, a lot to get through, and what we're going to do is kick off with Damo first, because he's got quite an impressive presentation to do. I'm quite excited. So without further ado, young Damo, it's over to you, fella.
All right, thank you. I'm sorry to jump up the agenda, but I was worried that something would power off and time out while we were doing the rest of the meeting, and then it wouldn't work. So I'm kind of pushing the envelope a bit today. It's the first time I've tried screen sharing an Android device, so let's hope it works. Okay, so some of you might remember the talk that I did a little while ago on network radio. And I've kind of since discovered that I can do a few more things with it. Specifically today, I want to talk about DV Switch and how we can use that to connect to things like DMR, YSF, D-Star in certain situations, All-Star, NXDN, all of those sorts of modes from the one with network radio. As the name suggests, it's a device that uses 4G or Wi-Fi connectivity as its primary means of communication. The devices generally run Android and use apps like Zello or TeamSpeak or Echolink or those sorts of things. You can obviously also run things like Peanut with them as well. And, you know, in this instance, DV Switch as well, which is sort of the main focus of the talk today. Because they're Android, obviously they have all the same sort of, you know, iPhone or same sort of phone apps that an Android phone has. So anything that I'm talking about today, if you've got an Android tablet kicking around or you're using an Android phone, you can do pretty much everything that I'm demonstrating today from that device. The advantage of the network radio is that it, you know, looks and feels like a handheld radio, complete with PTT and a belt clip and all of those sorts of things. But if that's not important to you, then you know, you can use your Android device. The other advantage of this for me, of course, because it's Android, it runs TalkBack, which is the screen reader built into all Android devices. In other words, the thing talks, which is kind of handy when you can't see the screen. Yeah. It's kind of a must-have. So that's just to sort of recap for those of you that are not familiar with network radio. Hang on, this thing's been a pain. Come on. All right. So what's DV Switch? DV Switch is essentially a client-server type application. It consists of two parts. A server, you can either use a Raspberry Pi or you can use a hosted Linux server, which is what I've done because I didn't have a Raspberry Pi to hand at the time. You then need the DV Switch client, which is an Android app, and that communicates with your server. So it's sort of, you know, those of you that have set up hotspots on a Raspberry Pi and things like that, you will be, you know, pretty used to something like this. Excuse me, folks, I'm just having a minor issue with this. Cycles. Come on. Cycles. There are a couple of kind of pros and cons of the different ways of doing this. If you've got the advantage of obviously a hosted solution is its high availability. You can kind of reboot it from anywhere, which is the other reason I wanted that, because I thought the one time that my Raspberry Pi crashes is probably the time when I'm miles away from it and can't do anything about it. So with a remote sort of hosted solution, I can reboot it. The advantage, though, of a sort of a Raspberry Pi based solution is that you can hook it up to a to things like All-Star. So one of the things with with this, one of the components of the DV switch server is you need a vocoder type device. So if you've already got a DV stick, you know, that you would use for Blue DV or something like that, you can use that. You have for a Raspberry Pi, which does the audio encoding and that type of thing. Or you can use the software method. If you're using a cloud-based hosted server, obviously you can't plug stuff into it. So you need to use a software vocoder. And it's basically a bit of a hack, but it emulates an MD380. And it does the encoding via software. The limitation of that, though, is you cannot do D-Star. To do D-Star, you need to have the sort of hardware, the hardware encoder hooked up. But every other mode you can do with the cloud-based solution. Why might you want to do this? Well, if, like me, you like to work a whole bunch of different modes, you know, I like to use DMR, I like YSF, and so on. You know, to do that any other way, you've pretty much got to have, you know, a couple of hotspots, a power bank, your phone or some other internet connection, and a couple of radios. Whereas with this, I can do everything from the one device because the network radio has a SIM card in it. The server's cloud hosted, so as long as I've got internet connectivity, I can access every mode from the one device, which is kind of handy when you travel around as I do, and I've usually got a backpack full of gear. And so I don't normally have room for a few Raspberry Pis, radios, chargers, all that sort of stuff, right? So it does give you a convenient way to access all of that in one package. What do you need to get started? You need either an Android tablet or an Android phone or a network radio. You need either a Raspberry Pi with either a DV stick or the Ambi hat to go on top, or a cloud-hosted server from somewhere like Linode or Binary Lane. Those sort of solutions, like the one I've got, cost me $5 a month. I think Binary Lane have them for $4 a month. So, you know, you can shop around, get yourself a fairly cheap little hosted server if you want to go that way. You need the DV switch client on your Android device, and you need to download and install the DV switch package on Linux. Obviously, to do that, you're going to need a little bit of basic Linux knowledge, or a friend that you can bribe with chocolate or beer or something similar to give you a hand with it. But really, that's all you need. You know, I hadn't touched Linux for probably 8 years, and you know, after a couple of hours of messing about, I was sort of comfortable with it again. I actually started on this project sort of by accident. I was originally looking for an all-star node, and I was looking at some pre-built ones, but by the time, a lot of them wouldn't ship to Australia, so by the time you got it here and dealt with a freight forwarder and all the rest of it, it was going to cost me close to $600. I thought, nah, I'm not doing that. So I had a chat to a guy on the Blind Hams Bridge in America, and he said, oh, why don't you just build one on a cloud server? And I said, oh, I didn't know you could do that. He said, yeah, that's how the whole Blind Hams Bridge works. So he helped me to get going with All-Star, and then I sort of did a bit more research and went, wow, I can do all these other modes with this thing as well. So I did a bit of tinkering during a wet few days, and the weather was too bad to get down and do anything else, and a bit of help from Bob and Martin, and we've got it running. The only other little gotcha, we did have to install the VPN on the server for the cloud-based solution. If you're using a Raspberry Pi, you don't need to do that, but you will need to do a little bit of port forwarding. So let's see if this is actually going to work. I'll try and give you a bit of a look at what it looks like. Yep. Now I do apologise to say that for the screen size, I thought I had another solution, but it wasn't to be. So this is the sort of the main screen of DV Switch, and if I wanted to dial, so it defaults to Brandmeister at the moment, but I can change modes. So if I wanted to go to Brandmeister Talk Group 91, for example, I just dial in 91. And that should have connected me to talk group 91. If I want to change modes, I can do that. So I'll go to mode, and I've got my options are DMR, D-Star, NXDN, P25, and YSF. So I'm going to select YSF. Now, so I'm now on YSF. I can then select my room that I want to go to by going to here. So I'm going to go CQ UK. And I'm now switched to CQ UK. And we've got some audio there. The nice thing about this too, because you're not dealing with a hotspot, I can unlink this at any time. I don't have to wait for a gap in the transmission. I will just quickly show you to the dashboard. For those of you that are used to Pi-Star, you'll recognise this. So that's my dashboard for the DV switch server, and you can control some aspects of it from here if you want to. You can also, if I go back to my team viewer for a second. Now I'll just unlink CQ UK. Yeah.
Those guys that are on there now, are they on network radios or are they on D-Star radios?
They're on probably, because it's CQ UK, they're probably on a Yaesu FTM 100 or something like that.
Right.
You know, and if I go to DMR, they're probably on GD77s or whatever else.
Right.
So you're accessing it in the same way. It basically gives you the same functionality as a bunch of hotspots plus a DMR radio, a D-Star radio, and a Yaesu Fusion radio.
But the gateway to the internet for those guys would be through a repeater that they're talking to if they're using RF radios. Is that right?
That's right. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And you're just accessing that gateway.
Yeah, pretty much. It's pretty much voice over IP. You know, so generally the audio is nice and clear, and it works quite well. There's also, if you're in DMR, you can actually switch between Brandmeister and DMR Plus. So if I switch my mode back to DMR, group mode.
Select the mode out of DMR and list. Switch mode field. Selection clear. Beginning of field. BCC button out of list. Setting mode to DMR. Selection clear. Beginning of field.
So I'm now on DMR, and
Macros. Selected. Audio gain setup. DMR.
I can adjust, so I can go to my DMR server selection here, and I can go to Brandmeister, DMR Plus, or TGIF, etc. You can also, from that menu, you can do things like reboot the server remotely from your radio, and you can set, favorite talk groups and all that sort of stuff with that as well.
Sorry guys, can I interrupt? Whoever's starting in front of the operational gate, can you come leave your power please and get in? A little hatchback here.
It's not me.
Well done,
So that's the sort of the digital modes component of it. If I now switch to All-Star, just to show you that.
Check box.
So I'm connected to that, and if I wanted to, I'll just make sure I'm not connected to anything at the moment.
Config. Yes button.
Star 806.
Set button.
Make sure we're clear. Now then I can do
Drop down list.
things like
Drop down.
bring up my macros.
Connect to blind hands off.
That's the Blind Hams Bridge.
Connect to CQUK. Node list.
Um,
Unlink. Parent.
HubNet UK.
Switch mobile. Selection cleared. Beginning of field. Drop down list. Macros. Out of
And
list.
that's
41,500.
we're now connected to HubNet UK, which is one of the biggest All-Star networks in the UK. For those of you not familiar with All-Star, most people connect to that using an analog, FM type handheld and a little Raspberry Pi based All-Star node. So the audio on All-Star tends to be a lot clearer than what you would get on, DMR or YSX or any of those things. It would be someone that doesn't speak very good English, but anyway. But yeah, so most people are using FM for that, and they normally, if you're controlling it from an analog radio, you just send DTMF codes to it. But this gives us the exact same functionality. So that is essentially how it works. It's all keypad driven, and yeah, I can pretty much go anywhere. Like I was, sitting up I was in Darwin a couple of weeks ago for work. Couldn't sleep at 1 o'clock in the morning, so just jumped on the radio for a while, and I could work. I was on CQUK and then HubNet and then the Blind Hams Bridge. So it allows me to work multiple modes and all of that sort of thing from the one device.
I think that's great. Any questions for Dale?
Fantastic. Yeah, very good.
Fantastic. No, we recorded that, haven't we?
Yeah.
Good.
If anyone wants to have is interested in having a sort of more of a look at it, either after the meeting or if you want to have a go at setting one up, give us a shout. More than happy to help you out. That's all you need. If you've got a spare Android device kicking around, that's all you need. You don't need to go for one of these network radios. I just kind of like the look and feel of them, and I can also, of course, still do all my Zello and other platforms and stuff as well from it. So it serves a number of different purposes in one device for me. But yeah, if anyone wants to have a go, give us a shout. More than happy to help you get one going.
Thanks, Darren.
Awesome. Thank you.
I've created a monster. I've created a monster.
You have.
I'm amazing about it.
Not real radio, right?
There's another tool in
It's like I'll put some screen.
All right, yeah.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
You're on the big screen, Martin.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't hear on the HDMI though.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Does the
No.
sound turn up? Does the sound turn up at HDMI? Or you might have to change your settings.
Yeah, you have to go in more.
The settings.
One more.
Go to more.
1, 2, 3,
Down
4,
to
5.
device settings.
CQ,
And then
CQ,
audio
CQ,
devices,
CQ.
speaker. There's that one there. That's it. Right now, Martin.
1, 2, 3, 4. In here.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what do we just
So close that across there.
yeah, sure. Just switch back to the program for a minute. We're just taking off the big screen, Martin.
Just turn it on.
I am. All right.
What do you want to do?
There you go. We're going to talk about events.
Who's talking, Martin?
Martin's going to talk about events.
Right, okay.
Hi, Martin. We're in events, mate.
Got me back on the screen?
Yep. But yeah, you're down here.
We can hear you.
So see if I can share my screen.
Right.
Hold on.
No. Hold on.
You don't.
Right.
Okay.
I'll just put you back on, Martin.
Yep.
All right, cool, we've got you.
Okay, so you got my screen?
Everybody see that okay?
What audio? You can hear everyone, sorry if I make it this time. Just a couple of things I wanted to bring up. We know we participated in the John Boyle. We did pretty well. But what I want to show you from the John Boyle, for those that participated, the WI has a contest champion list on their website. And for the year 2022, so WA for this contact list, for this champion list there, they've actually got a couple of nominated contests or events that they score you in. So it's the Russ Hull, the VHF People Day, John Royal, the Harry Angel Day, Peter Shire's Transpacific, the operating contest, Ocean Front, Ocean Sea. And if you go down to VK4, you'll notice those of us that participated in the John Boyle that we allocated some points already. So if anybody's interested in pursuing this more, or what we can do as a club, is target these specific events so that we can build up our points for champion list. So it's something to consider. And you guys, if you do it as a club or as an individual, make sure you get your notes submitted to the WIA. So that's the one thing I wanted to mention. The other thing is the Burkdale Open Days got postponed until the end of the month because of the inclement weather, the rain event and that. So the Open Days now on Saturday, Friday and Saturday, the last weekend of the month, which is 26th, 27th of May, so 27th, 28th of May. The 27th is the Friday, so remember it's a Friday and a Saturday, not a Saturday and Sunday, and it's from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And I'm looking at breaking that down into 2-hour shifts and having people support that event from home or in person. What I'm going to look at doing is we've actually got access to the World War II building, a radio receiving building, which you can see there on the main picture, is in the back there. This is the City Council website, interactive website we have featured. I reckon you can have a look at it. You can actually see the different hubs. So there's a number of hubs around the site which they propose developing. And our main interest one is obviously the communication hub. You can actually click on that and it'll take you into the communication hub. I had an email come back from the event coordinators and they've given us access to actually set up our tables and our flex portable demonstration, interactive demonstration, and the V-band interactive demonstration inside the building. And I thought we were going to be only restricted to room 11, which is the room that was opened up last year, but they've actually said we can utilize the whole building. So what we might do is in the main room where the existing equipment is, put up our static display, and then maybe in a separate room put up the flex, and in another room put up the V-band, just so you can have a bit of audio separation, so you don't have a lot of noise interfering with each other. I'm going to a site meeting on Wednesday afternoon, and I'll confirm that on site at the site meeting, and then we'll come up with a proposed layout. We're looking at having a table in each location, draped with a tablecloth, and then having the computers, and I've got big monitors with HDMI that can run the Flex software, the V-band, CW software. If we have problems with the C-band, and Colin, you can come in there as well. If we have any problems with the V-band, we can switch to, I've got a G90, we can switch to a radio with dummy load and have 2 radios in this on the site, and then we can just simulate CW over that if we need to. But I think the V-band will work out well. What I've done with the V-band is I've got 2 interfaces, so I can accommodate 2 computers running the V-band, and I've got a straight key, Colin's got a straight key, and I think Scott's got his interface available as well. And if anybody's built in and they've got access to the band with the interface and a straight key and the QDHs, they can participate as well. I'm sure Colin will come out with a bit more information later on. So this is quite interactive, this presentation. As you can see, you can go around the facility, and this is the radio transmitter site with the existing building, and there's a bit of a tower there. I haven't gone to see it. I don't know if you can actually go. No, there you are. So you can actually get inside. I know there is rooms with a bit of a workbench in it, and there's a kitchenette and some office space as well. I was thinking of setting up all 3 tables in this room, but with the public coming through that door, going around the 3 tables, and then back out again, they can look at the existing equipment. But yeah, if we want to separate out and notice, have it interactive and have people actually busy doing QSOs on the flex and on the big band, we probably might put them in another room there.
Martin?
A couple of things I wanted to just bring up quickly, and I'll share that. So in October, October is going to be known through the Redmond City Council as Seniors Month, and there's an opportunity there for us to apply for the grant to finance and facilitate the activities around the seniors community, and it's something that we can maybe do as a club and have it funded, through the grants, and encourage maybe something similar to what Rolf and the guys did the park. Let's do the park thing, and we could hire maybe the Gold Coast trailer or hire a coffee van or something like that. Get our seniors out there for a morning in the park, or I think as Phil mentioned, if we've got access to the Redmond Museum, even maybe having something out there like a QSO party or something on the patio or something like that. So that's something for us to consider as well. And there is a link on the Redlands website with regards to that seniors at lunch. Mark, I think that's all I had. If anybody's wanting to volunteer for the open days, then you can just contact me or prefer to send me an email and just say, yeah, you'd love to do Friday 10 to 12 or 12 to 2 or 2 to 4. So I was looking at doing those 3 2-hour shifts.
Martin, you had a copy of me. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, mate.
Okay. Can I just on the open day? I've got a couple of slides on that. I'll pick those up while you're here.
I'll stop sharing.
Stop sharing, yeah.
Yeah, please.
Share your screen as well, so I can see them.
Just imagine. I don't know how to do that, mate. Teams. I'm a dinosaur. I'm just showing. Just to wind back the picture here. This is now what's now called the Birkdale Community Precinct, right? It's a 62 hectares of land on Old Cleveland Road East, and there's Tingalpa Creek here. It was purchased by Redlands Council 2 or 3 years ago, and it includes a World War II radio receiving station. That's the photographs that Martin showed there. Now they launched the master plan, which is that document there. Can you hold it up? That's the master plan there, which is umpteen pages. And the master plan is a 20-year plan, a $300 million plan that your council, Redlands Council, are going to spend on your behalf to develop this thing into 8 hubs. The big hub is over here, where they're going to build the whitewater rafting park for the Olympics 2032. But as Martin said, the communications hub is the one we're interested in. And so the plan was launched 2 weeks ago. Martin and I went to the breakfast with, it was launched. There's about 100 people there. The mayor launched it really well, I thought. It was really quite professional. And they talked about really they're not really clear what they want to do with the hubs, and they're inviting community groups to come in like us and explain what we could do. So a path is open for us to talk about it, to talk to them. These are some words I took out of that big document there about the communications hub. The World War II radio station is the centerpiece. It's an opportunity to educate the history of radio communication then, today, and into the future. And the hub will have at least one new building. So they're going to build in another building as well as the old brick building there. So long term, I'm talking 8 years plus, because the whole thing's a 20-year plan. There's scope for us to be our clubhouse and radio shack. So Martin, I'll flick back to you, mate. Mate, why need your help to do this? Martin, you might want to say something more about the launch and what you learned from the breakfast.
You there, man?
Yeah.
Right. Do you want to talk? Would you like to talk about what you gleaned from the meeting at the breakfast, please?
Yeah, I think what council realises that they have to have community participation and basically buy-in from community. So hence the reason why they have come out with this community precinct and the initiative of getting engagement. If we don't engage, if you don't have any, what's the old adage, if you don't have anything in it, you're not going to get anything out of it, or they're saying that you guys have got to build for the wall. Oh, you're not built for the wall, are you? Hatches wall. Which side of the wall are you?
Me, I'm south side of the wall.
I'm gonna make told you later.
But me, family's north.
Next Spanish.
Yes.
So the thing is, I want community groups to be involved and to basically come up with concepts and ideas. And part of this open day is what we're going to do. I think the big thing is that we want to try and emphasize is amateur radio, the relationship that we've had with communications, and also we've had a relationship with veterans as well. We've all had family. I had a great-grandfather that was in World War II as well. I think we've all got some heritage history with that start. Maybe not directly, but through the involvement of our forefathers, our grandparents. And driving it as a communications hub and then sharing that technology. Something like, is it the Berkeley School, what's the college in England, Berkeley?
Yeah.
Something kind of principle. I think they will maybe develop a commercial building on that site as well, because there's a lot of land there, but it is heritage listed.
Yeah.
It is heritage listed. And also the one Rombic antenna site is also heritage listed. So they can't change that. I think one thing that I did learn out of the, what was a no-brainer for me, and that is that I think council we have to have some kind of commercial section in it. And I think the whitewater raft is the part that maybe some people are concerned about because it's quite commercial. It's a whitewater, rapid water training facility, but it could actually also support SES and the Queensland Fire Emergency Services, because they can do their training there. And they had, was it Jessica Fox?
Jess Fox.
The one gold medal in
Yes.
Was it Jessica Fox?
Jess Fox, yes. Yes.
Yes, it was.
She won gold actually in the whitewater rafting thing in Tokyo. And there's only one facility currently in Australia where she can train, and that's down at Penrith, and I think it got flooded.
That's right.
So having this facility up here in Queensland would help to finance the whole precinct and keep it viable for the future. Added on to that whitewater raft, they're actually going to do like a bit of a South Bank Lagoon facility for the public to utilise on any other day. So I think it'd be good. Good feeling about it.
Excellent.
Long term.
Excellent. And with that building there on the open day, is there any chance of us putting our banner out there or something to advertise what we're at?
I'm going to check with Eddie. We'll get the banner, and hopefully I'm going to go pick up the new banner.
Yeah.
One thing that we can't do is heritage of the site, so you can't really damage the cake
No.
or
No, of
injure
course
anything.
not. No, we wouldn't do anything like that. No, it's like, you
But
know,
yeah,
that's
we'll get
cool.
the banner and
So,
we'll
so,
get it.
so some of the stuff is like what we've been called upon is like some of the things that the members might want to consider is any ideas of how we can promote the use of the site in terms of like the future of radio and technology as a whole, that you know, the public and especially things like, you know, young kids and so on can utilize and understand about the craft, like, you know, about amateur radio and technology that's associated with it. I mean, you know, things like satellite communications. I mean, kids would love to see that in action, you know, some tactile activities that we can say to the council, or we can, you know, we'd have a satellite tracking stations there, and we can do communications there, and we can do HF radio and so on and so forth, and computer communications and all that sort of thing, and introduce all that to the members. So that's something to consider for us as well, isn't it?
And I think what we're going to emphasise when we're busy sending out this message is that we've got to be quite a broad demographic. So it'll be for the youngsters, the middle age, and for seniors as well.
Yeah. And
we can accommodate that anybody who wants to learn about radio communication.
Cool. Right, okay, thanks, Martin. Has anybody got any questions for young Martin while he's in? I'll share the screen with you still, Martin, so you can see. So I'll just go back on the agenda. On tab.
Yeah, I think the camera set up for focus is blurring out the background.
Ah, yeah, your camera's rust, is it? Your camera, is it okay on there?
No, this one that I'm looking at you at on the laptop.
Ah, it might be the laptop. Yeah, I checked that and it seemed to be okay. Okay, so we talked about that. BDARS, I think it is. Yeah, BDARS Bonza or Blooper of the Month. What's that?
Did I talk about that today?
Oh.
Okay. I thought we'd try something new, right? We all either have great successes, we're building projects during the month, or great QSOs, or great activities, or we're making a big mistake. I thought we'd just try something. We get people here to volunteer. What went well for you last month, and what did you stuff up? I've got something here to talk about that I made a mistake on, but is anyone to stand up and volunteer what went well or what went wrong for them? That's the nature of the discussion.
Ah, right. Oh. Well, maybe you can kick off, tell us about yours, and then that might trigger some thoughts. Maybe did you park your car in front of an ambulance station or anything like that? Okay. Just went straight over here.
I got a little video. I got a little thing on here. Let's go down.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, this is just me. This last week I've got a new PC in my shack, a new second PC. Setting up FT8 on it using JTDX, right? And as you know, when you set up FT8, there's like 80 settings to get right. And I set it up. I could receive and decode messages fine on all the active bands, but nobody would respond to my calls. Nothing would happen. I would talk to people or send out CQs, no responses. All the settings looked right. So, okay. So I turned on the Flex radio, the Mount Cotton, and looked at my signal. I zoomed in and looked at my signal, and my signal I transmitted looked exactly the same as everybody else's. I couldn't work out what was going wrong. And this was the problem. Yeah. This is part of the setting up, and look at what I've done here. I left the 4 out of my call sign. And of course, it's not a legitimate call in. You know, nobody could recognise me because they didn't have my proper call sign up. I fixed that and I was away.
Good job. Nice. Next. Ooh. Anybody else have any experiences like that in the last week or anything? Blooper of the month. Either that or you're just not admitting it, are you really?
I've got one if you want it.
Aye, go on.
Yeah. I put here mine by accident for some other reason. I was showing you this last week. This little buck converter,
Aye.
which takes an 18-volt battery, converts it down to 12.5 volts or whatever. I had done some work on it just before my trip last week. Got out into the field, and in the heat of the moment, couldn't get it to work. Had a meter with me, measured voltage, was measuring exactly the right voltage out, but it would not power anything, so there's no current coming out. What is it? Like blowing it up, I just assumed that I was dead. And couldn't use it. Got home, had a real good look at it, and I got plus or minus around there on my.
Oh.
Yeah. So we're still measuring on the multimeter.
Aye, of course.
But obviously, anyway, I'm glad it didn't blow anything else up. But,
Lesson learned.
and, you know, when you're out and about, you know, think of these, well, you know, sort of like, come on, I want this work. You get home and relax and spend 10 minutes on it.
Yeah.
Your brain clears.
Yeah.
And you go, okay.
Yeah. We've all been there, mate, that's for sure. And it's always typical, isn't it? Something that you say, oh, I'm going to use, and you're in a remote, or you're doing something like this, or, you know, you're in a remote location, Sod's Law, Murphy's Law, and it won't work, and it's something stupid. And you get back home, and you're exactly right.
Yeah.
It's, oh, Christ. Never thought of that. All right.
Can I just add, Dave, last year, just before I went to Cape York, I decided to upgrade a little bit my fuse boxes for my radios on my car. And so I went to Battery World, bought a nice little battery terminal with some external fuses, and I can draw wires from that, because my system I had intermittent problems with that, because I had a sunroof panel, and then it doesn't work, and reversing current, it doesn't work, and things like that. Bought the system, put it in, it ran, and it had 210 amp and 120 amp fuse in that circuit. So the 20 amp fuse was to power up my trailer, because I had a 10 amp battery booster to charge the battery of the trailer. And we were halfway up, and I suddenly know when we stopped the one night, so the battery's not full. And traced back, and for that, I just couldn't figure out what was fault with that. And eventually end up at this terminal block. Now it's got this push in, you know, the automotive like push in fuses.
Yeah.
As I opened the bonnet, and they had like a nice plastic cover,
Aye,
I saw
I've got one.
burnt. And that's when I realized that these fuses, push-in fuses, the terminals that they push in on it,
Aye.
they are not probably bent close enough, so it pushes in and it causes a hot joint. Okay, so, right, took me a while, I had to get in there, and my pocket knife, which I always have,
Oh, yes,
jerk it in
yes.
there, bent it a little bit, okay, it's fine. And then 2 days later, I buck boosted, because I bought a little 10 amp battery charger, you know, on the charge of the trailer battery on it. Stopped working. Couldn't figure it out. Open up, and the same thing, it's got PC board little fuses, 10 amp, 20 amp fuses on it. Same problem. Exactly the same problem. So now, I do not trust any of these push-in fuses. Like I know, my new car now, I've brought these midi fuses, those small flat top fuses to prevent that type of thing. So maybe it's a good thing to, where you use these type of pushing fuses for it. Just check that they're pushing, that they are strong and
Yeah. Good point. I've got one in my caravan. Those little.
Yeah, that's
box.
all over there.
So just a low contact point.
It means that, it's like a spade connector. And the one inside the terminal, you push it in. Now, these spade connectors are not good quality now. The good quality ones is just, you see, it's a heavy metal. Now, these new ones are little thin plastic, not plastic, a little thin, and they just don't push it hard enough. So you've got to bend the two legs in to make sure you've got a good contact.
That's good enough.
Cool.
Yeah, I had a similar situation. I've got a DC voltage distribution thing behind the distribution panel. And what was happening was my Kenwood TS 590, instead of transmitting 100 watts, transmitting 75 watts. And I noticed this now that I've shipped done PA. And then I started checking everything. I checked the voltage to 12 volts. And so I'm mystified that until I checked the voltage and transmitted, the voltage was dropping down to about 9 volts. So I went inside and exactly the same. I could see some burning in one of the fuses, so I cleaned that right up and actually put a fresh one in and cleaned the socket, put it in back up to 100 watts.
Wow.
So there's an opportunity though. Like mine is in a wooden surround.
Yeah.
Could go to 5.
But that's exactly that.
Yeah.
Exactly that.
Interesting.
So I'll share something too.
I'm sorry?
I'll share something as well.
Oh, lovely, please.
You know, when you start into the world of ham radio, you think big.
Yes.
So I'm thinking big with my mast.
Yes.
So Scott see my mast. It's two 6.5 metre chunks of aluminium joined together. It just goes up 13 metres. Right? And it was looking really great. And the top one was made out of 1.5 mil, and the bottom was made out of 3. The top one needed twisted with the side. I said, oh, great, I'll get rid of that one. Put a 3 mil one up there. So now I've got 2 3 mil, thick wall aluminium sitting up quite high. And I thought, great. So then I lowered it down a wee bit. Says, now I'll start shooting up the aerial of it. That's when I lost control of the aerial, of the mast. That's when the wind caught it. That's when it wrapped it around my front door of my car. Well, you're going to damage. The mast now has the shape of a crescent moon. So, look, when you think big, and you construct big,
Yep.
and you expect to do it by yourself, you've got to build it the right size.
Yeah, that's right.
It's no longer a one-man exercise. It's a two-man exercise.
Oh, I can tell you, I know you know about that one. Yes.
Then another thing, that's probably been mentioned to you. When you have a steel type of like 2 meter work, I've got these Diamond SG 9700. That's a dual band.
Yeah.
Do not travel on corrugated roads with it because they literally disintegrate. That steel work because it starts resonating.
Oh, yeah.
And breaks. Last year, when I went up to the Cape York trip, first thing my VHF antenna of our CB, that's the first thing that went. Because it snapped off eventually because I said, hey, so I swapped over to my, my 2 meter, because 70 centimeter, and it was still okay in the tuning for that. I used it, and about 3 days later, one of the tuning part in the middle, that snapped.
Yeah.
Because of that oscillation. So I've rebuilt it the next, probably in the next, I'll show you guys how I've now fiberglass encapsulated a tube. There's this whole thing for that. I'm just going to finish the last part of that now.
When that happened to me from something I bought from Strictly Ham, a mobile antenna, I rang him, and I said, I wanted to claim it under warranty or whatever. And he said, no, you can't put a mobile antenna on a car. It's not designed for that. He said that will happen. If you put one of these things on a car, that will break.
Was that a stainless whip?
Yeah.
Was that would work?
Yeah, stainless.
Well, I've had the regular, blank steel one.
Yeah.
A couple of years now.
Yeah. But I thought that was pretty funny because it's exactly designed for that purpose. Yeah. He said, no, don't put it on a car. So anyway. But yeah. Same.
Yeah, so now I'm making it now foolproof in a way where I've learned now from these big antennas with the fiberglass tubes I'm doing exactly the same.
So bring it in, let's have a look at it.
Yeah, I'll bring it next week. I'll just finish off the last fiberglass part.
Good.
Because it's a dual tube system that fits.
Grand.
Because of the size.
Grand. All right then. Working bees at Mount Cotton. Stop the water ingress and install third cabinet and coax and antenna. You want to talk about, the weather's a bit crappy at the minute, so there's not much you can do in that terms.
Next couple of weeks probably.
Okay. So I'll give you a shout.
I'll give everybody a yell.
Okay. Eddie, where's Eddie at? There you are. Exams, mate. 21st of May.
Yes, I've got 6 names. I sent an email out and got a couple I need phone numbers, I need email addresses. Another one is Robert Grubby, I've got his phone number, no email address. Because we've got a slightly different situation happening on the 21st, we're changing classroom, so I've got that part organised. Check the security stuff, but it's at the back of the classrooms now, but we still use the same car park if we can get into it. We don't use the big car park out the back because the TAFE control it. And as the teacher said to me, we had a meeting there the other night and we had to get them and drag them by the scruff of the neck to open the gate for us. They didn't want to, but we were sort of in cohorts with them, but anybody else, forget it.
Okay.
They'll shut the gate when they want to shut it and they won't open it. So that's a bit of a drama. But apart from that, I've got the papers, everything's ready to rock and roll. So.
Good show. Excellent. Thank you, Eddie. Yep, that was your bloomer. That's it from in terms of puzzle. Anything else you want to cover off?
Was there anything else?
That's it, mate. Done everything. You've done your bloomer. All there.
Any news on the Redlands Sporting Club?
Meeting on Thursday. Doug's been away at Treasure Island the last couple of weeks, so.
What's that going to be?
Doug Alexander, my counterpart at the River Museum.
Was he the guy that came to the meeting that night? Oh, no, that was the president, wasn't it?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Yeah, no, Doug's been away, he's, we're meeting again on Thursday.
Yeah. So I guess, well, it's not official. We don't have an official ending tonight, but if we want to grab a coffee, a cup of tea, chew the fat for a while,